This video is sponsored by Lomi. Solar panels have proven vital to moving us closer to a net zero reality while also bringing down our energy bills. Over the last few decades, we've seen solar panel costs drop significantly. But the technology has hit a bit of a ceiling in terms of efficiency, which can be a problem if we want better solar for our homes and more solar energy powering our grids. But that ceiling has just been smashed by a team of researchers who have made the most efficient panels of all time, using innovative quantum well technology. But what are quantum wells? How do they improve solar efficiency? And what impact could this laboratory breakthrough have to you and me? In order to better understand this new breakthrough, let's take a quick refresher on today's typical solar panels. The solar panels you put on your roof use monocrystalline silicon as the main component material. Since residential solar debuted in the 1980s, the price per watt has fallen a jaw-dropping 99%. And while the technology has also seen improvements since it was first developed, that progress has stagnated in the last few decades. Researchers at the U.S. National Renewable Energy Laboratory have been working toward creating a more efficient panel for decades. Their last big breakthrough in 2020 saw panels reaching efficiencies of 39.2%. But their latest panels pushed those efficiency levels even further to 39.5. Okay. Sorry, I thought it was going to be like 50%. Okay. 39.5, still pretty good, and a world record. But let's look at how these panels compare to your typical solar panels. Even today's high-efficiency perovskite panels top out around 25%, but your typical home solar panels run around 20%. Solar efficiency is measured using what's called one sun illumination, a standard metric for comparing light intensity, where one sun corresponds to the standard illumination at 1 kilowatt per meter squared. I guess if you lived in Tatooine, the metrics would be different since they have two suns, but it makes sense here on Earth. Using this metric, a standard 2 meter square panel operating at 20% efficiency would generate roughly 400 watts of electricity. Again, 20% efficiency may not sound like much, but consider that a typical car engine only runs somewhere between 12 and 30% efficient. But these breakthrough panels nearly double the energy efficiency of standard silicon-based panels. Under the same one sun metric, that same 2 meter squared panel using these experimental cells would generate roughly 790 watts. Nearly double. Using more efficient solar panels could free up usable land while still producing the same amount of energy. Or they could produce nearly double the amount of power using the same amount of land, which would definitely make a more sizable dent in the energy market. Right now, wind is generally considered the most efficient energy source. And while a number of factors determine the overall efficiency of a given technology, in general, solar tends to rank far lower than other renewables. Now, this typically doesn't matter since you can fill an entire field with solar panels. But just think of the reach solar energy could have if we could double its efficiency. One thing to point out here is that the experimental panels using more highly concentrated light have reached higher efficiencies, above 40%. But real-world applications use standard concentrations of sunlight. So for that metric, these panels are by far the most efficient ever made. There are a few key components that set these panels apart. A traditional solar cell uses doped silicon. That means silicon mixed with other impurities such as gallium or arsenic atoms that increase its ability to capture and convert solar energy. A solar cell typically has two layers, an N-type, the negative side, with a high concentration of electrons, and a P or positive type with, you guessed it, low concentrations of electrons. When sunlight hits the N-type layer, electrons flow from one side to the other, creating electrical current that can be captured and used for power. This type of solar cell is known as a single junction solar cell, as it has one single boundary or junction between the N-type and the P-type layers, known as a PN junction. This single band gap is tuned to capture certain wavelengths of light, which is one reason why their efficiency is so limited. The new panels address these limitations by using multiple junction points, 3 to be exact. Each junction uses different materials that concentrate on a particular part of the solar spectrum, meaning fewer wavelengths escape and more is converted into electricity. The layers are based on what is known as 3-4 materials, a group of elements on the periodic table that serve as excellent semiconductors. Lower or narrower bandgap materials will convert longer wavelengths, lower energy photons. But the innovations don't end there. The middle layer of these cells uses a material called gallium arsenide due to its near perfect material quality, even though it has a higher band gap than is typically considered optimal for the global spectrum. This essentially means that the balance of photocurrents between the three layers doesn't sit quite right where it should be, according to Ryan France, senior scientist and cell designer at NREL. To make up for this subpar band gap, the researchers modified them using quantum wells. No, that's not where Ant-Man gets his drinking water from. This approach was key to the huge increase in efficiency. The physics here are a bit complex, and certainly beyond the scope of a 10-minute YouTube video. But basically, the team uses thin nanostructures of carefully selected conductive materials and sandwich them between the cell materials. This allowed the team to fine-tune the band gaps, especially in the middle layer, to absorb even more of the light spectrum, optimizing performance. The middle layer contained up to 300 quantum wells in total. So while this breakthrough is truly remarkable, there's one glaring question. How will these solar panels impact everyday consumers like you and me? We can't wait to dive into that. But before we do, I have to tell you about the most remarkable little appliance I've seen in years. This is Lomi, a ridiculously cool, beautiful kitchen electric composter. If you do any amount of cooking, I'm sure you're familiar with this. Food scraps from vegetables, fruit, even coffee grounds, and eggshells. This isn't trash, it's the basis for future plant food. But usually it takes months to break down. But with Lomi, you can take this and turn it into nutrient-rich dirt in just hours. Using Lomi twice a week can reduce your waste footprint by 50%. It has 3 modes: an eco mode, which uses just around 1 kilowatt-hour of energy, and takes 3 to 5 hours. Use grow mode, and in 16 to 20 hours, you have nutrient-rich dirt that's perfect to turn back around and add to a garden or a houseplant. There's even a Lomi-approved mode, which can break down Lomi-approved bioplastics. Whether you live in a small studio apartment or a farm, convert your food scraps quickly into dirt with Lomi. I've had mine for over a month, and I still get a kick out of seeing the results every morning. Use my link, links.pella.earth/RickyJune, to check out this revolutionary new product today. Huge thanks to Lomi and to you for supporting the companies that support the show. The researchers acknowledge that these panels won't likely see commercial applications for some time. The main reason, as always, is cost. Right now, producing these multi-junction panels costs roughly $10 per watt. As of 2022, the Solar Energy Industries Association estimates that the cost of a typical 6 kilowatt solar system comes out between $2.50 and $3 per watt. Now that's the cost for the entire system. So if a typical system costs $14,000 to $18,000, one using these multi-junction cells could cost upwards of $60,000. Even at nearly twice the efficiency, that's far too great a price hike to make for these panels. Twice as efficient, 10 times the price, I don't think it's going to be worth it. So then why does this breakthrough matter? It's important to think of these technologies with a larger picture in mind. In the 1950s, when solar technology was beginning to emerge, cells operated at around 4% efficiency and cost over $300 per watt. Back then, they were really only used for satellites. It would be another 3 decades before residential solar would become available. And I'm so glad that it has. So until prices come down, one market for these solar panels could be space vehicles and satellites. The ISS currently uses triple junction cells with around 30% efficiency. This could be a promising application as more and more companies plan to launch telecommunication satellites, develop commercial spaceflight, and even set sites on the moon and Mars. While that may not seem like it impacts us here on Earth, the fact that there's already a potential market for this technology is a good sign. The more commercially viable a product becomes, the more can be produced at a commercial scale, which can ultimately bring down prices. We've literally already seen this with current solar panel technology. Just look at how much the costs have come down. Even since 2009, the price of residential solar has dropped dramatically, from around $8.50 per watt to the current $2.50 for a full system. Researchers from Toyota and electronics giant Sharp Industries are also looking into potential applications for triple junction solar cells. For example, solar vehicles, EVs with solar panels on top of them, could be a huge game changer and could bring that technology closer to reality. Ultimately, I understand that breakthroughs like these may not have a direct impact on us today, but we will benefit from it in the long term. And in this case, it'll probably be like 5 or 10 years before this technology or some variation of it find its way into the marketplace. The team at NREL is already working on a few different methods to drastically reduce these costs. As we mentioned earlier, there are many new technologies in development right now to help improve solar efficiency. One showing a lot of promise is perovskite solar cells. The key issue currently with perovskite is longevity. Unlike silicon panels that can last 30 years, perovskite is closer to 5 or 10 years. But if we could fix that, introduce the quantum well multi-junction approach to adopting and using more of the light spectrum, that could be pretty game-changing stuff. But what do you think? Are you excited about this new solar efficiency breakthrough, or do you think it's just more pie in the sky, wishful fantasy? Sound off in the comments below. All right, that is a look at quantum well solar panels. Look, I know some of this stuff aren't things you can just go on Amazon and buy today, but you got to remember that the future is always going to be about groundbreaking new things, and scientists just need to work on these big challenges so one day in the future, we'll all have this stuff and it'll be common and cheap like solar panels are today. All right, thank you so much for watching, guys. Check out our other videos. We have some really awesome content you're going to love. Don't forget about our home series on Tuesdays, and also check out our website. We'll have a link down below. Huge thanks. I'm Ray Da Vinci, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.